The movie opens with Sienna, our main character, showcasing her life as a dedicated fighter from a young age. Currently, she works as a trainer at her mentor Julian's gym, UFG, striving hard to make ends meet. Her sister Beth is her polar opposite, compassionate and supportive, keeping Sienna grounded. Along with their friend Brent, they form a tight-knit group, and Sienna finds contentment in her small circle of friends. But everything shifts when she encounters Jax Daenerys. Initially, Jax approaches Sienna under the guise of wanting her as his trainer, but his real intention is to ask her out. Aware of Jax's reputation as a skilled and charming fighter, Sienna agrees to train him. As they begin dating, Sienna falls for Jax, despite her initial desire to keep their relationship professional. Their bond deepens as she trains him, but their perfect world is disrupted when Jax sustains a severe leg injury that jeopardizes his career. Despite his doubts and moments of despair, Sienna's unwavering support helps him persevere. She vows to aid in his recovery, and their joint effort not only revives his career, but also strengthens their relationship. Sienna is ecstatic and deeply in love until she returns home one day to find Jax cheating on her with Beth. This betrayal devastates Sienna and marks the beginning of a challenging period in her life. Post-breakup, with no place to go, she starts sleeping at the gym. When she begins college, she realizes she has hit rock bottom and needs a new direction. Struggling with no money or shelter, Sienna seizes a small opportunity for change when Brent mentions a cheap room for rent. Despite Brent's warning about the landlord's complexity, Sienna decides to investigate. Upon meeting the landlord, Caden, Sienna is struck by his attractiveness. When she explains her dire situation, he quickly decides they wouldn't be a good match. Undeterred, Sienna attempts to persuade him, but Caden brusquely shuts the door. Disheartened, she seeks advice from Julian, who reveals that their gym is struggling due to a rival, Powder Keg, hosting illegal underground fights. Julian also discloses that Jax has joined the rival side, further damaging their gym's prospects. As a man of strong principles, Julian refuses to engage in underground fighting. By chance, Sienna sees a poster of Jax and notices Caden is his opponent. Seeing an opportunity, she visits Powder Keg and encounters Jax. He tries to reconnect, claiming she's the only one who understands him. However, Sienna demands answers about his betrayal. Jax's feeble excuses only fuel her anger, prompting her to place a $100 bet on Caden, despite Jax being the favored fighter. The fight begins, and although Caden fights well, Jax emerges victorious. Sienna hopes Caden can make Jax experience a taste of his own medicine and sees potential in Caden. The fight ends abruptly when the police raid the venue, leaving Sienna without her last $100 and nowhere to stay. She spends the night at a bus stop, contemplating her bleak situation. Determined to turn her life around, she returns to Powder Keg the next day and offers to train Caden, claiming she knows Jax's moves from their past and can help Caden improve. Initially, Caden refuses, but Sienna's persistence, reminding him of her lost bet, leads him to reluctantly agree, provided she helps him prepare and allows her to stay at his apartment. He even gives her the nickname Lucky. Living with Caden brings some stability to Sienna's life. The following day, she meets Kara, who offers her a ride to college. Though initially cautious, Sienna warms up to Kara. However, she is dismayed to see Beth and Jax together at school, which intensifies her pain. When Beth tries to talk to her, Sienna warns her about Jax's manipulative nature, but Beth, blinded by love, disregards her advice. The next morning, Sienna finds a note from Caden saying, "Don't bet on me," along with some money. Annoyed, she heads to the gym and finds Caden training with someone else. Taking over the session, she pushes Caden to his limits. Despite Caden's objections and attempts to end their arrangement, Sienna is determined to help him win, rather than accepting charity. Later, while they dine together, Sienna makes it clear that the training will be the toughest Caden has ever faced and that there will be no romantic involvement between them. She lays down strict rules: no drinking, smoking, or partying, and full adherence to her training regimen. Caden agrees, and they begin an intense training routine. As the training progresses, Sienna notices the gym's financial struggles. Julian suggests she consider fighting herself, but Sienna, focused on her studies and Caden's training, declines. He also mentions that Beth has contacted the gym, which angers Sienna. Julian advises her to let go of her anger, but Sienna feels it gives her an edge. Sienna storms into Caden's gym, visibly angry, and pushes him hard during training. She defeats him easily in a wrestling match. Although she tries to hide her emotions, Caden senses her distress but remains silent. Later, Beth tries to talk to Sienna, but Sienna, still enraged, dismisses her. Beth attempts to assert herself, recalling Jax's advice to stand up for herself, which only fuels Sienna's anger further, prompting her to walk away. Reflecting on Jax's previous advice to stand up for herself, Sienna remembers that it was only when it suited his needs. A flashback reveals a moment when Jax dismissed Sienna's dream of becoming a fighter, suggesting she was better suited as a trainer. Though she didn't understand it then, Sienna now realizes Jax's attempt to stifle her success. Caden later comments on Sienna's behavior in the gym, suggesting that family is important, though he's unaware of her issues with Beth. Sienna snaps back, questioning if that's why Caden isolates himself in the basement. Caden is offended and tells her to mind her own business. Sienna struggles to move on from Jax, often thinking about him, which leads to sleepless nights. One morning, Caden wakes her up from oversleeping and informs her about an upcoming rematch. Sienna makes him promise to follow her every command until then. Caden agrees, and their intense training begins. Sienna takes Caden to a lakeside for sensitivity training, blindfolding him. Through several attempts, Caden improves, and their bond strengthens. Sienna reassures him of her commitment to his success, boosting his confidence. During a break, Sienna shares her training experience with Julian, a renowned boxer, and her dream of running a gym, which motivates her to study business. Caden inquires if Sienna has considered fighting herself, and she admits she has, but Jax doesn't believe she is tough enough. Reflecting on this, Sienna feels Jax didn't want her to overshadow him, and that societal biases against women in the sport also played a role. Caden supports her goals and expresses disdain for how Jax treats her. Sienna vows Jax will get what he deserves. During one of Caden's sparring sessions, Jax shows up and tries to talk to Sienna, pretending to be concerned about underground fighting. Sienna sees through his facade, knowing he never supported her dreams. Despite his attempts to sweet-talk her, Sienna reveals she is training Caden to defeat him. Afterward, she tends to Caden's injuries, emphasizing that winning their match is the only priority. Tensions rise when Jax and his friends arrive, mocking Caden. A fight ensues, but Sienna intervenes, pushing Jax away. He taunts her with the nickname Princess, a reminder of their past. Sienna loses her temper when Jax compares her to Beth, and in a fit of rage, she damages Jax's bike with a crowbar. She flees with Caden and their friends as Jax gives chase. The next morning, Sienna feels liberated after standing up to Jax and decides to focus on positive changes. Inspired, she begins painting her living room, and Caden joins her. They end up having a playful paint fight, which turns intimate, and they almost kiss, but Caden pulls away, reminding her of the upcoming match and the need for focus. Disappointed but understanding, Sienna agrees and makes new plans. Sienna takes Caden to Julian for professional training. Initially, Julian refuses, disapproving of the underground fighting scene. However, Sienna's determination persuades him to train Caden professionally, despite his reservations. Julian senses the tension between Sienna and Caden and stresses that it should not affect their training. Training progresses as Sienna and Caden work diligently under Julian's watchful eye, growing closer over time. On Brent's wedding day, Sienna goes for a dress fitting and is taken aback to find Beth there. Beth, who chose the dress, apologizes for betraying Sienna, explaining that living in Sienna's shadow was difficult and that Jax made her feel special. Despite Sienna's warnings about Jax, Beth remains convinced of his love. Sienna recognizes that Beth isn't ready to change and resolves to wait until Beth seeks her assistance. At a diner, Caden notices Sienna's distress and talks to her. She opens up about her concerns regarding Beth, and Caden offers to pay for her lunch. When Sienna notices a tattoo of a woman on Caden's hand and questions him about it, Caden avoids the topic, which frustrates her. Sienna decides to stay focused on their goal of defeating Jax. Later, while Sienna is running, Caden catches up with her to apologize for his earlier behavior. He confesses that he constantly thinks about her. Touched, Sienna reassures him that people can change and grow, affirming that despite his past, he is good enough for her. Moved by her words, Caden kisses her, deepening their connection. They end up spending the night together, strengthening their bond. The next morning, Sienna finds Caden making breakfast. She offers to pretend nothing happened if he prefers, but Caden's warmth makes her feel at ease. He reveals that he once dreamed of being a chef, and they share a sweet moment. Caden promises that he desires more than just a one-night encounter with her. As time goes on, Sienna and Caden's relationship deepens, balancing romantic moments with their rigorous training. One day at the gym, Julian catches them slacking and warns Sienna. He shows her a video of Jax's tough fight, questioning if they're ready for such a formidable opponent. Sienna confidently assures Julian that they will be prepared, and Julian gives them one final chance to train harder than ever for the upcoming fight. Julian asks Sienna to assist in the ring with a female fighter. Sienna agrees and competes skillfully, taking and delivering hits before securing a victory. Julian informs her that the opponent had previously won all her fights, boosting Sienna's confidence as a fighter. Julian assures her that he will support her when she decides to pursue fighting seriously. On Brent's wedding day, Sienna and Caden attend as a couple. While dancing at the reception, Caden expresses how much he missed being with her and wishes they could stay close forever. Sienna feels elated, but her joy is interrupted when she encounters a drunken and shameless Jax in the restroom. Jax tries to rekindle their past relationship by discussing the wedding, but Sienna, aware of his manipulative ways, rejects his advances. Jax attempts to force himself on her, but Sienna pushes him away just as Caden arrives. To avoid a scene, Sienna tries to get Caden to leave. Jax provokes Caden, accusing Sienna of using him to get back at Jax and challenging Caden to a fight to prove Sienna's loyalty. Caden refuses, asking Jax to respect the wedding. Jax then makes a cruel comment about Caden's mother, causing Caden to lose control. The fight escalates, moving into the reception hall, where Caden ends up more injured than Jax. Sienna follows Caden to the kitchen, where he reveals his past. He shows her a tattoo dedicated to his mother, who raised him alone while working multiple jobs. Caden recounts a tragic night when he called her for a ride, only for her to be killed by a drunk driver on her way to pick him up. Jax's taunts have reopened Caden's old wounds. He feels he has nothing left to offer and refuses to be pitied. Sienna tries to assure Caden that she doesn't see him as a charity case, but he refuses to accept pity, especially from someone he believes is self-pitying. His words hurt Sienna deeply, and she realizes Caden may be seriously injured when she feels a broken rib on his side. Caden insists she should not come to the fight the next day. Sienna argues that Caden can't fight with an injury, but he believes that whether he wins or loses, their relationship will be meaningless afterward. Sienna is hurt, but can't argue as Caden walks away. On the day of the fight, Sienna initially hesitates to attend, but Julian convinces her that Caden needs her support. Julian warns Caden of the danger his injury poses if Jax targets it. Caden enters the cage where Jax is already waiting, searching for Sienna but not spotting her. The fight begins, and Sienna arrives just in time. She cheers for Caden as he battles Jax. Near the end, Jax targets Caden's ribs, causing him pain. Sienna, worried for Caden, watches as Jax mocks UFG's best fighter. Caden looks at Sienna, and she realizes their love is more important than defeating Jax. Caden rises and fights back, eventually defeating Jax after a close match. Sienna rushes into the ring and hugs Caden, celebrating their victory. They kiss and savor the moment until Sienna sees Jax preparing for a sneak attack. She pushes Caden away just in time, but gets punched in the face herself. At the hospital, Caden sits by Sienna's bedside, waiting for her to wake up. He writes a letter and packs his bags, preparing to leave. When Sienna wakes up 3 days later, she finds her friends concerned, but no sign of Caden. After Brent and Evans leave for their honeymoon, she asks about Caden. Julian gives her a letter from him. In the letter, Caden explains that he loved her, but realized he caused more harm than good. He believes she deserves better, and that staying with him would mean living in his shadow. He doesn't want to hold her back. Jax visits Sienna in the hospital, expressing guilt and apologizing. He claims the incident was an accident because he didn't see her until it was too late. Sienna forgives him, leading Jax to realize that he never truly loved her, but only sought to control her. Jax asks if he can change, and Sienna assures him that it's never too late, though she remains skeptical. After her recovery, Sienna returns to an empty apartment. Though hurt by Caden's departure, she understands his reasons. She had been focused on revenge and invested all her energy into Caden. She realizes she needs to fight for herself. Over time, Sienna rebuilds her life and concentrates on personal growth. One day, Beth tells her she has ended her relationship with Jax. Sienna doesn't mock her, but instead expresses pride in her sister. Their relationship begins to heal, along with other aspects of Sienna's life. During a gym session with Julian, it's clear Sienna has improved. Then, Caden walks in. After weeks of no contact, he admits he was wrong to leave her and apologizes, confessing his love without expecting anything in return. As Caden is about to leave, Sienna stops him. She tells him that after reading his letter, she realized she needed to work on herself first. She thanks him for helping her get back on track and holds no grudge against him. Caden reveals he has given up fighting and will join her in school. Julian thanks Caden for his help, acknowledging that the fight he won helped keep the gym running. Although the gym isn't thriving, Julian appreciates the support. The film concludes with Sienna contemplating whether having a champion in the gym could aid in expenses, deciding to sign up for her first fight as a competitor.